1,165 days since Richard vanished from the barracks there at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas, and something happened. He was code redded. Code redded, that means he's a whistleblower, retaliated against. They didn't like him blowing the whistle. You know, they don't, they talk. If you see something, say something. But if you do that, then you're putting your life at risk. And that's why we have been asking, and I want to thank everyone. I think we have 222 signatures now on the petition supporting hedging the active duty soldier that has put in he had enough. He had enough. And he put in an inquiry to Congress, a congressional inquiry, to ask about the actions there at JAG that are acting against the soldiers. The young girl, how can that happen? That a young girl of 14 years old was living in the barracks and being prostituted out. And then also, how can this happen with Richard's case? So um, it is really important. I think there was one more thing that I was reading on there. Let me make sure I'm on Facebook. And I think we're good. It looks like I'm live. Good. Thank you very much. Happy Saturday night. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're ready. Uh, Today I kept the same title about the Department of State and Leilani Hart. And, why do I have Leilani Hart on every one of these live streams? And it's because she's part of Richard's case. Her um, her witness testimony over the years, her convicted criminal um, record, her very, very important notarized uh, criminal complaint confession to the CID and FBI, and we have those numbers. So those are hard facts, are part of Richard's case. And she wanted to tamper with Richard's file. She wanted to tamper with surveillance videos. She wanted surveillance videos to go missing. And she had the position to do that because, and we even have a testimony, a witness testimony saying that she was controlling CID on Fort Bliss. She was controlling it. And it's very interesting because that has um, confused me for a long time. Confused Team Fire and Richard Halliday, how this civilian veteran, 100% disabled veteran, could have um, so much control over the Fort Bliss Criminal Investigative Division and the office therein. And she even, I mean, it makes sense when she was having an extramarital affair with Tavita Nusa. Um, he is a special agent right there at the Fort Bliss CID, and he has lost his badge. He has been removed from the Army. So that is a huge indication that things were going very wrong. Does she know Marlon Soto? Well, I was in that meeting. I was in that meeting when we were giving the Hemasochil, the J. Paulin uh, testimony, these screenshots that we got, that there were leaks going on then. There was an indication that the CID was not doing, something was fishy. Something smelled. Things weren't right. It was botched. It was botched. And Now we know from the Department of State, we have confirmed that the protocols for Richard, that's why we were never called. That's why we never received the 2 week letter that the protocols require when a soldier goes missing. Um, but his investigation, the protocols, the search for Richard was prematurely, very early on, called off. It was canceled. And so that is another indication that this is a code red, another circumstantial evidence, irregularity, but we also have hard facts. And now we have the Department of State saying that yes, this is confirmed. It was called off because remains of Richard were found in Mexico. And, that's huge news. And so I kept the title of Leilani Hart and Department of State because that's huge news. And this week is going to be a huge week. And we are getting breaking news just about every day. And today, I was thinking about calling it CID because we are starting to put together, and everything is becoming clearer between Danae, Jay Paulin, Tavita Nusa, Marlon Soto, Leilani Hart, the person that was involved in the CID internship there at Fort Bliss that Richard was part of, Ron Steig. So did I name them all? Jay Paul, and there's a group, it's and they have something in common, and it's called CID. Oh, I should have put in Danae Katzen, CID. Um, so they are. Um, there's this affiliation. There's this common denominator, and the open records requests. Those all can provide us with simple clarity on was Danae Katzen working within or with, affiliated with the CID on Fort Bliss. Now that needs to be clarified because here she is with a criminal record. And something seemed to have happened that cleared her. So, because she has a very serious criminal history. And if you have paid attention to this whole case, you will know that she first called us right when we got there at the end of September at Fort Bliss and said that Richard was in Cancun, Mexico. That was, she mentioned another soldier in that, but that was the main gist of it, is that there was Snapchat photos of Richard in Cancun, Mexico. And I have a video, and I even should put that up, of, not hearing from her for a while after being told we would hear from her. And we're really worried about her because we knew that things were not being told to us properly, and that things were crooked, things were botched, and we were worried about her safety. And so we decided to call her and ask, and that phone conversation was recorded, and so we posted it up with her permission. But we had to change her voice, and it was very interesting how that all went because they wanted the narrative that Richard had gone AWOL, that Richard was some kind of El Capone. And we know now that's not the case, that they had the Department of State now confirms that Richard's remains were found early on and confirmed that Richard's remains were found in Mexico. We have information that Richard was dismembered, and so if you hear us say he was, his remains were found in Texas, and then also in Mexico, then you know why. They did not want another Guillen situation, another Vanessa Guillen situation, and can you believe it that we have to be the ones telling people what is going on in our son's case with that kind of news, with that kind of weight, with that kind of emotional weight on us day in and day out. Um, these are just super cruel people. And, we know that Danae was lying now with the Department of State. Um, we know that she was lying. We know that she was a con artist. We know that she has connections with Leilani Hart, very close connections with Leilani Hart. We know that she has connections with Belen Rocha, and and I said that very, very early on. But she has connections with Leilani Hart, which is, you know, but she also has connections with Marlon Soto and Tavita Nusa and some other people. They all have this common denominator of CID, and we're just wanting clarity. We want to know if she was employed by the CID. Was she employed by the CID at any time? And, you know, uh, look, you have Tavita Nusa being accused by a key witness, hearing it from his mouth, though, you know, that he was tampering with Richard's file, tampering with the surveillance video, that video was being tampered with and missing. And we know from Thomas Kane, who was in charge of all of that, that they were working outside of the law. Um, and also the interference in the JAG with our key witness that has a direct uh, response, connection to Leilani Hart's um, fabrication lying to law enforcers, which she has a criminal record of, that she was arrested for. Um, and now with this close relationship with Danae, and then Danae seemingly having a professional relationship with CID. We'd like clarity on that because, I have a couple other names I'm not at liberty just yet to say that have a connection within the CID there. But with Marlon Soto, and I remember, I go through all the information and my own memory about what happened with Danae Katzen, what happened to her testimony, all my conversations with Marlon Soto, knowing that Tavita Nusa, that we didn't know about at that time, was there with Leilani, and Leilani telling people that she was controlling the CID. Was Danae just friends with them? Was she actually employed because of her connections with the sheriffs, with the El Paso Police Department? And then here she is on their fugitive, their 10 most wanted, I should say, their 10 most wanted list. I know the exact name. I should write that down. But this is Well, it's written down. I should just read it. I should write it on my video notes. So does that just shock everybody? Am Are we the only ones that are just shocked every day by the information that we're getting? It's CID could have hushed her like they did with Boleyn. They can be very intimidating but they didn't hush Boleyn. Okay, we talked to Boleyn on the phone, and the PI connected with Boleyn and connected with Danae. Okay, those are the audios that we have, and they're very interesting. They are very interesting, y'all. They are, I will tell you this. The the person that they were trying to discredit with the PI was me. Okay? That's what they were trying to do, is discredit me. Not, personally me, but because I'm doing the live streams for Richard. Because I'm doing the live streams, and they wanted the narrative to be shut up. They wanted this whole case to go away, for us not to ask or even get an answer about where Richard is. Because, see, it's just that bad. It's just that bad. And we would like clarity if Danae was employed by the CID before. Look, this is before Richard went missing. Okay? The information we're getting is that she knew Richard. She knew Richard. She had an affiliation with CID. And we need clarity on this, because she is a very, very important witness to what happened to Richard. Very important. And, okay, you can say, but wait a minute, she was trying to obstruct justice. She was lying to you. She still has a very, very important role in this case. And there needs to be clarity. Because we know that she was very close with Leilani, that she absolutely has an affiliation somehow, some way with CID. And this is before. There's other people involved in this, and that's how we know. And I'm trying to tell people to come forward. Now is the time, because we have an alliance on Fort Bliss. We have information coming to us now. And we every day, look, even the DA of El Paso is now writing us registered mail. The Samoa, and I'm not even at liberty to tell you all of the institutional support that we're getting, because there needs to be knocks on people. There needs to be knocks on doors. People need to be arrested, even though we know that there were some arrests. We know there's some confessions. We know that they know, and now the Department of State, which we can tell you, has confirmed that early on they knew that Richard had been murdered, and that it was a code red, and there was a racist element to it. And I don't want to say a racist element to it. I think maybe um, because I understand what I was told, and it reminded me of my mother. My mother is was born in Germany. My mother is an immigrant. Matter of fact, she got her citizenship right there at White Sands. I was born at White Sands. White Sands Missile Range is where my mother came for the first time to the United States. And she did not speak, um, her English was not that good. She had to learn about the United States. She had to learn English. She learned English by ironing because she ironed for the soldiers and sewed patches on for the soldiers. And at that time, everything was starched, so she would starch the uniforms and iron them. And she did that in front of the TV that had like General Hospital and As the World Turns, those kind of things. That's how she learned her English. And with that though, um, and even with studying for her citizenship, she was still had a handicap. When you are coming into the country, you have a handicap on knowing how the system works and having connections. That when you are born and raised, you have connections, you know how the system works because of your experiences in this country. And like our family, we have experiences. My husband, 30-year veteran with the United States Army. We know the being even Army brats. My husband was an Air Force brat. To know the military all of our lives, um, to know the legal system, to there's just the language, also having the language. When you are just learning the language, it is a handicap. I know that from my son-in-law coming over, being Korean, trying to learn the language, trying to start a business, and then COVID hit, right? But you have, it's not as easy for you. It's not as easy. You need to have connections. You need to understand the system. You need to even know that you should go and get help in understanding the system, right? So, what was told to us is they thought that Richard did not have that kind of support. And so they might say, oh, this is a racist thing, but I don't think it's really so much a racist thing. I think they just thought, okay, we can murder him and his family doesn't have the support. They are at a disadvantage and they'll never find out and they'll never be able to understand the CID, understand the FBI, understand the DA, understand the AG, understand the state of Texas, understand the Army, understand the area of El Paso, understand Juarez, um, and on, right? And the language. And so they just thought, okay, we can get away with it because that family will never be able to do anything. They're handicapped. So and I want to clarify that because yesterday, um, it sounded like it was all about racism. And, you know, life is all about racism, right? Because we are people that are humans from all kinds of different races and cultures. Thank you, God, right? We're not a bunch of Borgs. We speak different languages. We have different religions. We look different. We, you know, our cultures are different. And so God has made us really unique. You can't get away from that. That's reality. And I remember going to Bassett Elementary School and I got picked on all the time because I was like, out of 800 students, maybe three students were blonde, right? So, so I understand getting picked on because you're different. Um, my dad just said, "Don't worry about it. Just tell him your hair is from the white sands of New Mexico." That's what he would tell me. Um, you know, so life is there are different races, and so I don't want to play the race card. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that people have evil intentions and they will use every excuse to cover their evil intentions. And with Richard, those evil intentions involve the CID. It involves the Army hierarchy. It involves this chain of command. And let's say they wear the green uniform, they wear the uniform, and Richard, we were told that Richard had his uniform on when he was murdered. And this goes along with this abduction claim, which Danae could clue us in on because um, she's a big part of this. She knows a lot. She knows a lot. And it's not about Richard being in Cancun. It's not about a soldier having Richard's credit card, the wallet falling and the credit card. We did that wallet test, right? Just doesn't happen. Your cards don't fall out of a wallet, of a man's wallet when you drop it. So, and we did lots of those wallet tests. Uh, and it's not about her wanting to steal horses, wanting to con people out of money, using makeup, using dog watching services. I mean, she was just, she's just been up to no good. Uh, but this is over and beyond that. This is actually having access to the CID office there on Fort Bliss and having a professional relationship with Marlon Soto, Tavita Nusa, Jay Paulin, Ron Stieg, and Leilani Hart being part of that because, how was Leilani Hart part of that? You know, why was she bragging? This is the two of them. Were they co workers? Were they involved in that CID office? Because I will tell you, the FBI allowed Marlon Soto, Special Agent Marlon Soto, to police himself after we gave compelling evidence that there was leaks and they were up to no good in Richard's case. We presented it at that meeting, the General McConville meeting, right, where there was two generals and 15 plus agencies, including the FBI, including the CID, including ATF, that's what is it, alcohol, um, tobacco, firearms, and explosives. They don't just show up anywhere, right? And you're talking about Homeland Security, you're talking about CBP, you're talking about um, the marshals, the Mexican government. There were so many there. 15 plus agencies. And in front of them all, we gave this compelling information. And the FBI allowed Marlon Soto to take that from my hand and say, I will handle it. No, you don't handle it. The FBI needed to do some oversight. And so, and because you're so desperate trying to find out what happened to your child, to your loved one, um, it takes you a little bit to digest what you just saw, what you just experienced. Not for Rob so much, but for me. It takes a little bit because you go home and you're like, what just happened there? Were they honorable? Were they benevolent? Are they actually trying to find Richard? And the answer came back always no, no, no. This is a botched investigation. They have no intention of searching for Richard. And then we got confirmation on that because there was no op-ord. And who gave us that confirmation? Brigadier General David Stewart. We asked him point blank if there was an op-ord for Task Force Find Richard Halliday, and he said no, there was no op-ord. Okay, and this is a following meeting. So you don't have an op-ord for a 15 plus agency Task Force Find Richard Halliday, then you have no intention of finding Richard Halliday. And so the State Department then now, finally, 3 years and what months later, are confirming that yes, they called off the search, the protocol, the investigation into Richard. And did that mean, this is huge because now we can say we want all the information for our son's case because the investigation was called off. And we even have a letter that says this is cold case and there is no ongoing investigation into our son's case. And then, another person comes, oh yeah, So now we have confirmation there's no investigation going on. So we can get all of the information because what they tell you over and over again when you want open records is we can't give you that because there's an ongoing investigation. Well, there is no investigation into Richard except for Team Find Richard Halliday. So everything that they have, all of the phone records, the tower dumps, the confessions, the plea deal, the all of the warrants, all of the, and this is the warrants are coming in anyway, but all of the warrants, the probable cause, all of these things, they need to, all their searches, right? The findings from these warrants, they need to give those to us now because we still have an ongoing investigation. So, yeah, that will come in really useful because we have a lot, we have enough, and we're getting institutional support. So that would be evidence to aid in our institutional support, which will give us accountability. And one of the big things that they can tell us in that paperwork is Danae Katzen's true role with Park University, with the CID, internship, with Richard, with the investigation, and then to be used as someone that does alibis, right? Right? To give an alibi, or to to be used to redirect the family. Can you believe how evil that is? I mean, that is so evil. What she was sent out to do. And that explains why they didn't want to bring her in. You know, they they're so sloppy. Cuz remember it was a month and we're like, "You mean she went on KTSM?" But see, they weren't doing it for us. They weren't doing it for Richard. They were doing it for you. They were doing it to give you a false narrative in this case so that you would just write Richard off because you're that important. Yesterday I talked about the little people. We are so important. We are so important. And if you ever doubt that, then I suggest you get yourself, uh, you can get yourself a Bible or you can get yourself a Book of Common Prayer. Every evening for evening prayer is a Magnificat, right? It's Mary's song, and it's all about how God takes the humble and He raises them up. They're so important, and He took Mary to be the mother of God. I mean, this is my faith. And to me, that is an amazing miracle. Just amazing. And, so you have to know that these people that raise themselves up, God brings them down. And those that stay humble and true are not led by the money hungry, not led by the sex cults, your own flesh wanting things, that you have discipline. You have discipline when it comes to money. You have discipline when it comes to lust. You have discipline when it comes to crime. Those, and that all requires humility, right? It all requires that you stay humble. God raises you up. God raises you up. And so I've said over and over again that His hand has been on this entire investigation, Team Find Richard Halliday's investigation. We have the Department of State now admitting that there's a code red. The Department of State admitting that it's a botched code red because they didn't expect the family to really want answers, to even know how to get answers. And I would say there's more to that because they were right. They had closed everything down. They closed everything down. They had wrapped this up. They had put Richard in cold case. They had misled us in so many ways. But all of a sudden, God provided. God provided. God provided a key witness. God provided new witness testimony, hard evidence, and now we are piecing everything together. And do I think that we're still misled sometimes? Absolutely. But I just found that the 2004 Pontiac van, that's been out there. That's a Hart-owned vehicle. Okay, that's James and Leilani Hart. And so we've located that vehicle, and it's we have proof that they have tried to hide it, that they have tried to get rid of it. I mean, that's breaking news in itself. We have so much breaking news on so many fronts. Um, Let me answer any of your questions because CID, well, that interview done by the PI, she pretty much played them like puppets, in my opinion. And the PI seemed to be working for others, not whom he was supposed to represent. And that was Richard Halliday, in my opinion. You can tell she was a con, in my opinion. And I think the PI was working for the CID. The PI spent a lot of time with the CID. Why? We were like, okay, okay. And they spent a lot of time making excuses for Danae. So that is protecting the CID to me. So we'd like clarity. What is Danae Katzen's affiliation with CID? That's the question. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm just, it all fits so well together. I hope it is not true that she was working as some kind of administrative assistant in the CID. Um, and that's how she came in contact with Richard. And that I hope it's not true, that she's not a witness to the crime perpetrated against Richard. And that is why she gets protected. I mean, to interfere in this case like she did, and to go to the media and the media to want to do it. We were shocked that the media was willing to do it and take that much time because it took a long time. We were there half a day. Half a day. And willing to cover it up and do whatever to play it like they did. Um, the office meeting beforehand, in the studio beforehand. Very interesting. Yeah. I'm sick to my stomach. Yeah. That would be a setup, right? That would be a total setup. And it was a setup. And I don't know if Natalia Paloma knows it was a setup. By now, she knows that it was a setup to a degree, but a setup by the CID, by the Army, to control the narrative, to cover up a code red. So they thought because he was Polish that his family was in Poland wouldn't be able to help bring Richard home. Um, I don't know what race they thought he was. I know that there were racist remarks, and they just didn't think that, you know, okay, his family's Polish descent. They're just came over here. They don't know English. Oh, we thought, remember the soldier that came up to us? Oh, we thought he was a pathological liar, but then we found out it was true. I mean, where did they think he went? They knew that he was from Ireland. You can say, okay, his family is Irish, and don't know the system. They're Polish, don't know the system. German, don't know the system. I I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. They were just saying, okay, we can kill him because he has a minority family and or a family that won't know the system, won't be able to get help, won't be able to uncover what we're about to do. And so we can do it. That's what we were told. Interfering with an investigation is against the law, in my opinion. Accessory to murder is a crime. The individual can be charged for murder as well. Oh, yeah. I believe the PI interfered with the investigation because I think he knew more. Um, he knew. He spent a lot of time with Marlon Soto, and Marlon Soto absolutely is implicated in obstructing justice and botching purposely this investigation, um, interfering in the investigation. And we have Leilani Hart interfering in and intimidating witnesses, key witness, interfering also with the witnesses in this investigation. It's we have current Adeline absolutely interfering with this investigation. And so many that are allowed to do it, and the generals, the matter of fact, it's Richard's first sergeants, Richard's captain, Richard's, lieutenants that are over there interfering in this investigation instead of having that PAO put forth an announcement every month like we were promised. We were told every month until Richard is found, we're going to put forth an announcement. It could be in the paper, it could be on Fort Bliss, it could be in local news, but they would give a statement, a media statement, and they could use the first sergeants, they could use the unit members, and they could make a statement. Instead of interfering with Team Farm Richard Halliday's investigation, that were, for the longest, we were just like, okay, which way, because we were being told so many different things. Instead of getting bashed, why don't they come out and tell us what they know? That he was attending Park University, that he was a CID intern, that he was a whistleblower. Now we know he was a whistleblower, but for the longest time we didn't. And that's huge. And that this involves Leilani Hart, who has a very messed up family. Such a messed up family that there's incest, there's pedophilia, there's, just the fact that she would accuse her family of all of those things is a messed up family. And for James Hart to be working with our veterans, our disabled veterans, and having access to files. And that's why that's where they had access to Rob's file, because people don't understand that during that vile, vulgar 3 months that we went through and beyond, that they made it very clear they had access to my husband's file, that they were looking through his file. And the military didn't care. This is a veteran. They don't care. And they're allowing James Hart with his lover over there, because that's even in the divorce papers, that they're allowing him access to our veterans and their sensitive files, while being accused by his wife, and who knows which one is that, because there's also other accusations about multiple wives. Um, and y'all might not know that, but this is what we're being told. That needs to be clarified. How many wives does James Hart have, right? Um, but by his wife Leilani, or Iolanthea, or Lorian, whatever her name is, who seems to have questions about her immigration status, to be having access like that, a job like that. And where are these leaks coming from? Where are these you know, ability to access files coming from? Well, is it the VA? And then to have Command Sergeant Major Jerry Jakovitz, who allowed young party girls to come on, but with the help of Thomas Kane. You have to know we got confirmation that Thomas Kane is the one that gave them the special passes to come on during the COVID lockdown, right? That he's now a big honcho there at the VA on Fort Bliss. And said he didn't even know that he had a missing soldier on his. Well, he was kind of telling the truth. He didn't even know he had a deserter on his rolls, because Richard was never a deserter. So maybe he was telling the truth. But still. Why didn't he call? He knows those roles. He knows those roles, and we know the military, so we know that he knew. He knew what was going on with Clem Coward. He knew that Richard was a whistleblower. He knew that Richard had gotten a GOMAR and that it was made permanent and that he was being chaptered. He knew that Richard got a field grade Article 15 with maximum punishment. How many soldiers get a field grade Article 15 with maximum punishment? For what? For nothing. And then how many soldiers get a code red? And then that gets called off by who? We were told day 3 by Clem Coward, by Major General Clem Coward. It was, the reasoning for us being told that it was day 3 is because that's when protocols require that you contact the family. And if it goes to 2 weeks, you have to write a letter to the family. And that never happened, neither one of them. So we're being told they knew that there was an incident. They knew that Richard was murdered. They knew that they had to hide his body. They didn't want another Vanessa Guillen, because Vanessa, and happy birthday, R.I.P. Vanessa Guillen. Today would have been her birthday, I understand. Maybe I posted it up. So R.I.P. Vanessa Guillen. Happy birthday. It's so sad. But I just, because I'm a Christian, I know that you are alive. You are alive somehow, some way. So death is not natural for a Christian. Okay? Death is a punishment of sin. And so it's not a natural state that God wanted us to be in. That's my faith. So, I was really thinking about her today and thinking about Richard. That's what gets me through all of this gruesome details, because, they're just so evil. These people are just so evil. And they have no love for humanity. And that's why we have such a problem with them being predators to our children, to their own children. And just creating people with deep scars, emotional scars, physical scars, mental scars. And you know, that's not adding to a healthy society, you know? And because they're doing that, because of what they're doing, I know that they are capable of what is being alleged with our son. And it's not really alleged anymore, right? Because the Department of State is saying yes, he was murdered. It was code red. His remains were found in Mexico. And, what else? What else do we need to? We don't need anything else, right? Except for his remains. And we don't even need his remains to go to court, and we need circumstantial evidence, overwhelming circumstantial evidence, which we have. And we need institutional support, and that will give us the accountability. Okay, everyone. That's huge. It's just trying to see. I've got some other comments on the YouTube since I'm streaming live to YouTube. Yeah, she's sending me the pictures of Danae in her mugshot. Um, yeah, it's there's a lot of things that need to be clarified. Just like Amber Chase working with James Hart at the VA. I didn't get a no yet. No, no, no. I don't work with James Hart at the VA. And there's other people, y'all. There's other people. Our list is, we're trying not to say so many names, but Amber Chase has inserted herself in this case so much so that, yeah, that needs to be clarified. So, all right, everyone. And of course, Danae inserted herself. And, Boleyn is a big player too here. She's a very interesting character. And, now is the time to come forward, to tell what you know, because I don't want, I know that Team Find Richard Halliday, and I agree, we don't want any immunity anymore. No way. No way. It's way past that now. These people are so emboldened to bring us down as a people, as a people. They just don't care. They don't care about our children. They don't care about our families. They don't care about our economy. They don't care. And they have just, no, it's there needs to be some very harsh accountability. There needs to be knocks on these doors. They need to be arrested, and there needs to be accountability. And praise God that Texas has the death penalty. That's how we think right now. Praise God that Texas has the death penalty. And I never felt that way in my life. I was more for Ron Paul, I mean, we were always, supporting Ron Paul, and Ron Paul was like, they use the death penalty for innocent people. I don't know. I am praising God for the death penalty for that shot, um, and accountability. Yep, because what they did to Richard and that July 9th, 2020 date is that's hard evidence. And that's a very important fact in this whole case, that the foundation of their retaliation dropped from under their feet. They had no foundation for any of the retaliation, the severe continuous retaliation that they had dealt out to them. And what were they going to do now? What were they going to do? Apologize? Restore him? Pay him for his pain and suffering? I call it restitution. Were they going to do that? Was Major General Clem Coward going to do that? Was Lieutenant Colonel Roddick going to do that? They made the wrong decision because they should have done that. But in my opinion, they decided to murder him. So that's an important date. Justice for Richard. Thank you so much. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your love. And, and I've said over and over again, if we don't have this right, then CID can come out and contact the PAO. The General Eisenhower can come out and he could clarify this. He could give us a call. He could clarify. They could give us open records and clarify. They could give us open records to the CPS. They could give us open records to Park University. They could give us open records to Leilani Hart and Dallas Hart. Where is Dallas Hart's orders? Where are his orders? That is, okay, so he's now no longer in the military, a first lieutenant. That's the exact rank you need for a platoon leader. We have witness accounts. We've turned them in, that he was Richard's platoon leader. Okay? And he could clarify that so fast by showing his orders. Showing his orders. But see, he sent us that soup sandwich travel voucher that they don't even use anymore. And because we're military, they don't use these anymore. They're all digital now. This is not even valid. Right? So because we're a family that knows this, and James wasn't happy when I said, thank you so much for this travel voucher. And he's like, what travel voucher? The one you sent. I didn't send any. Oh, well, I guess it was Chris Martin. I don't know. I don't know who sent this travel voucher. Because if Dallas Hart gave a different alibi that doesn't meet the alibi that he gave us with using this travel voucher, then that's a little bit messy there. That's a little bit messy. But he could clarify the whole thing by showing his orders. So, and bringing out some witnesses or whatever. I mean, this is about a missing soldier. Where are they? Where are they? They're angry because we won't take silence from them as an answer. No, we want answers. And just that they're angry is strange, right? That's strange. So we have a number, 941-677-0060. They don't have to call us. They can contact Angela Kocherga. She would be happy to talk with them. They could contact Natasha Paloma. She would be happy to talk with them. They could contact Major General Eisenhower's PAO, and they would be happy. Or Stars and Stripes, and they would be happy. And if they really wanted me to look like a fool, they would do that. And then I would be grateful because I got some answers. And Team 5 Richard Halliday would be grateful because they would get some answers. So, but now we're getting institutional support telling us what really happened, because it has to do with this arms room. It has to do with this tactical move storage unit. It has to do with the Van Buren address. Has to do with this 2004 Pontiac, Montana. Has to do with, why was Dallas Hart, why is the information coming to us that Dallas Hart was in possession of Richard's vehicle? Where is this? If the CID was the one that was implicated in all of this, that everything they told us, we have to question now, including Richard's vehicle, because the information that we got early on was from the CID. So, would they lie? Yes, they would lie. They would lie, and we know that now. So, thank you so much. I know that was a lot of information, and this can get so convoluted, but we love you. We're very grateful that you are coming on and listening, and we're going to get this clarified, and we're going to get accountability somehow, some way, legally, through the legal system, through the institutional support. We're going to do it, because that means that our country will work properly, that our country is for justice. And so we need that right now, because every which way we look, all we see is corruption and a broken system. So we need our system to work properly and to give us justice. Give Richard justice. Thank you so much. God bless you, and I'll be back tomorrow.